In November 2012, Sussex voters will be able to vote for a police and crime commissioner who in theory could remedy the institutionalised dishonesty currently practised by Sussex police, supported by the current police authority and in collusion with the dishonest Independent Police Counter-Complaints Commission. If you are a Sussex voter, should you dutifully attend your local polling station on November the 15th to make your mark on a voting form, or has the election already been decided? Having heretofore only garnered odd scraps of information from local papers, the BBC and odd websites about would-be candidates and the processes to which they are being subjected, I recently consulted the Electoral Commission website for further enlightenment about the arrangements for the November election and, to judge what may eventuate, for voting figures from the general election of 2010. I found that the Electoral Commission had published 7 documents on police and crime commissioner elections in England and Wales, entitled Guidance for Candidates and Agents, Parts 1, 2A, 2B, 3, 4, 5 and 6. For the purposes of this video, I'm interested only in Part 2A, Standing as an Independent Candidate, Part 2B, Standing as a Party Candidate, and Part 3, Spending and Donations. To the Electoral Commission, independent candidates and political party candidates are so different that they are addressed in separate documents. The differences have serious implications for the November election. Part 2A of 6, Standing as an Independent Candidate, tells the reader, to become nominated as a candidate at a police and crime commission election in England or Wales, you need to submit a completed set of nomination papers to the place fixed by the police area returning officer and pay a deposit of £5,000 by 12 noon on the 19th working day before the poll. 23 paragraphs later, the reader is told, after the election, the deposit will be returned to you by the next working day if you poll more than 5% of the total number of valid first preference votes cast. The ballot papers allow voters a second preference in case no candidate achieves more than 50% of the vote when first preferences are counted. If the second round ends in a 50-50 draw, lots are drawn. On page 4 of this document, one reads that a candidate's nomination form can have, apart from name and address and signatures of 100 registered electors from the police area, one optional extra, a description. If you want the word independent and or annibynnal in Wales to appear on the ballot paper underneath your name, you need to state this on the nomination form. No other descriptions are allowed for candidates who are not standing on behalf of a registered political party. Alternatively, you may choose not to have a description at all by leaving this part of the form blank. Nothing but independent is allowable, so voters without prior knowledge of the candidate would have no clue whatever as to his or her social and political views. Part 2B of 6, Standing as a Party Candidate, announces the award of a different description, providing one has the party's authorisation. You can ask for either the party's name, as registered with the Commission, or one of the party's registered descriptions to appear on the ballot paper underneath your name. Page 7 of the guidance adds another privilege for party candidates. If you have been authorised by a political party to use the party name or a registered description on the ballot paper, you can also request that one of the party's official emblems is printed on the ballot paper next to your name. One can begin to see why the Liberal Democrats have misgivings about these arrangements. Part 3 of the guidance gives further cause for concern. Money. Part 3 of 6, Spending and Donations, tells us that spending is limited. The spending limit for the regulated period is a maximum amount based on the police area in which you are standing. The spending limit for Sussex is £219,983. Personal expenses include the reasonable costs of a candidate's travel expenses and overnight accommodation. These costs do not count towards the spending limit. A candidate can pay up to £5,000 in total on personal expenses. The agent must pay any sums above this amount. Candidates can only accept contributions, donations of money, items or services worth more than £50 towards their campaign spending from certain mainly UK-based sources, and must report them to the local police area returning officer after the election. This includes contributions from your own political party. Many political parties run local fighting funds for candidates. If the fund is managed and controlled by the party and not the candidate, donations to the fund are usually treated as made to the party, and you do not need to report them as donations to the candidate. It is looking as though would-be commissioners without considerable financial resources would face an unfair contest. What does the behaviour of the Sussex electorate suggest that such would-be candidates and voters who might vote for them should do? In 2010, Sussex elected to Parliament 13 Conservative MPs, 2 Liberal Democrat MPs and 1 Green MP. Most votes went to the 3 major political parties, their highest-scoring candidate receiving 32,333 votes, the lowest-scoring successful candidate receiving 16,217 votes. Contrast those figures with those of the 7 independent candidates. Their individual totals were 235, 143, 101, 87, 85, 80 and 74. Compare those figures with another one. Faced with the prospect of having Mr. Soames as their MP, 259 voters in mid-Sussex voted for the monster raving loony party. The most favoured independent candidate received 0.5% of the vote. In the November election, a candidate would need to do 10 times better than that to save the £5,000 deposit. Those 2010 figures suggest that a party candidate is likely to win in the November election. The Conservative and Labour parties both intend to field candidates. What is their support like? In the 2010 general election, Conservatives received 381,876 votes, the Liberal Democrats 227,813, Labour 136,024, and Independents 805. What does that tell us about the result of the November election? Unless the electorate is in a position to appreciate the qualities of an outstandingly gifted independent candidate with a very high media profile, the winner will be the Conservative Party's nominee. Who that person is, I only discovered recently. The nomination seems to have been managed with little publicity, though on the 30th of May I had learned from the Argus Online 6 Conservatives are fighting it out to become the party's candidate. Party grandees whittled down the numbers from 12. All 6 candidates are now expected to take part in a question and answer session with Sussex's Conservative MPs and representatives of 14 Conservative associations. Up to 4 candidates can go through to a final round on July the 14th. I then discovered from the website of one of 3 remaining candidates that the 3 chosen aspirants would address a meeting of established paid-up Sussex Conservative Association members on July the 14th, and that at the end of the meeting those paid-up members would vote for the candidate. So I can now announce the winner of the election taking place in less than 4 months' time. Katie Bourne. Mild curiosity prompted me to read on a web page at www.katiebourne.com about Katie. Katie has been described as a serial business builder, having had either direct ownership or indirect interests in the success of several businesses, including her own leisure company, which was successfully sold to her main competitor. Following the sale in 2005, she has reinvested some of the proceeds in the following startup projects. 4 companies are then named. Does that mean that anyone who buys shares can be described as a business builder? A brief attempt by me to find more convincing details of business building produced only an interview for the Independent newspaper. Katie Bourne, Why Would I Want to Be an MP? Dated the 3rd of December 2009, the first paragraph of which tells us, I had been shortlisted for interview at a safe Conservative parliamentary seat in Suffolk. The last paragraph starts, Suffolk chose a great candidate, but it wasn't me this time. I am now busy applying to another seat, and so the process begins all over again. The total business experience claimed in this article states, I have built a now large business, teaching thousands of 16 to 80-year-olds to dance. If you are a Sussex voter and intend to vote for a Sussex Police and Crime Commissioner on the 15th of November 2012, you should know in what sort of arrangement you will be complicit.